They tried to ban my dog, Max, claiming he was too disruptive and not suitable for our pristine suburban HOA. I never expected that a tiny, scrappy Labrador mix could spark the most chaotic, hilarious, and jaw-dropping HOA battle of the decade. What happened next changed the neighborhood forever and left everyone questioning authority, rules, and how far someone, or a dog, could go to take control. Stick around because this isn't just a story about a dog. It's about revenge, power, and a whole lot of chaos. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss out on the wildest HOA stories you'll ever hear. Trust me, you're going to want to see every twist and turn of this one. Like this video if you love canine heroes and HOA drama, because Max is about to show us all how to play the system in style. From the very beginning, I knew Max was more than just a dog. He had a presence, a way of commanding attention that made even the most stoic neighbors stop and stare. Our HOA board, however, didn't see it that way. They sent me a letter claiming that Max's barking during early morning walks and his enthusiastic greetings were violations of multiple HOA rules. The letter was cold, almost surgical in its phrasing, as if every sentence was designed to strip me of any right to ownership and companionship. They demanded Max either be retrained, which was impossible given his spirited nature, or removed from the property entirely. It felt like they were trying to take my family member away, and honestly, I couldn't let that happen. So I started attending every HOA meeting, armed not with anger, but with a carefully constructed plan. I observed, I listened, and I noted their weaknesses, the petty squabbles, the hidden agendas, and the overwhelming desire for control. Max and I weren't just fighting for his place in our home. We were about to turn the tables completely. My first move was subtle. I started bringing Max to meetings, letting him roam freely while I watched the board's reactions. Some were appalled. Some were secretly amused. But all underestimated the power of a dog who could literally charm anyone. Over time, Max became a fixture, sitting in the corner observing, occasionally barking at the right moment to disrupt any board member trying to speak over me. The meetings shifted. Suddenly, people weren't just discussing rules, they were reacting to Max, noticing him, laughing at his antics, and slowly, they began to forget why they hated him in the first place. It was only a matter of time before I escalated, taking advantage of the HOA's rigid bureaucracy to push my next move. I submitted a petition. Why not have a canine HOA president, given that the rules didn't explicitly forbid it? The board laughed, but legally they couldn't deny me the proposal. I found loopholes, citations, and precedents that no one had ever considered before. By the next election, Max was officially on the ballot, and the neighborhood would never be the same again. Election day came, and it was like watching history unfold in slow motion. People showed up expecting a laugh, a novelty, a cute story about a dog running for HOA president. What they didn't expect was Max's sheer influence over the community. Pet owners, rule-bending teenagers, and even disgruntled neighbors, tired of petty regulations, flocked to vote for him. Max didn't campaign, didn't speak, didn't even leave the porch except for his ceremonial stroll around the voting area. But every tail wag, every tilt of his head, and every friendly bark worked like a magnet. When the votes were counted, the board was stunned. Max had won by a landslide. Suddenly, the same people who had tried to ban him were forced to answer to him. The neighborhood erupted in whispers and murmurs. Max, the dog they once labeled a nuisance, was now the authority figure overseeing their pristine lawns and peaceful streets. But with great power comes great chaos. Max didn't behave like a traditional president. He refused to enforce arbitrary rules, encouraged community interactions, and seemed to favor fun over strict compliance. The HOA board tried to fight him, sending letters, calling emergency meetings, and attempting legal maneuvers. Each time, Max's position was unassailable. They couldn't evict him. They couldn't impeach him. And while they were busy trying, the neighborhood began to transform. People laughed more, parties became common, and the rigid order that once ruled our streets softened into a lively, chaotic, and undeniably happier community. Not everyone was pleased with the changes. The old guard, led by the former HOA president, sought to reclaim their control. They tried to pass stricter rules, limit pet interactions, and even propose secret meetings without notice to reassert their dominance. But Max had allies. Young parents, dog owners, and even a few elderly residents who had quietly grown fond of his antics started challenging the board's decisions. We organized events under Max's leadership, like block parties, communal garden days, and charity drives that featured him as the honorary mascot. Each event showcased the stark contrast between Max's approachable, community-friendly leadership and the board's inflexible, petty control. Slowly, the neighborhood began to embrace the new order. The chaos Max introduced wasn't destructive, it was liberating. Board members who once sneered at his presence found themselves participating in events just to remain relevant. Max, without saying a word, had reshaped the power dynamics entirely. The final push came when the board tried to enforce a last-ditch measure, a rule banning gatherings in the common area without approval. It was meant to be the nail in the coffin for Max's influence. Instead, we mobilized the entire neighborhood. Over 100 residents attended the next meeting, showing support for Max and loudly protesting the proposed restriction. The board was powerless. Max didn't even need to bark. His presence alone, combined with the community's newfound unity, crushed the opposition. By the end of the year, Max had not only survived the attempted ban, but had cemented himself as the most beloved figure in our neighborhood. People would walk by, greeting him with smiles, leaving little treats, and even seeking his advice on trivial matters. It was an unprecedented phenomenon, a dog running an HOA and thriving, while humans who once controlled everything scrambled to adapt. Max's reign brought more than just fun. It sparked accountability. Board members learned that their arbitrary rules could be challenged, that influence could come from unexpected places, and that humor and heart could wield more power than fear or intimidation. The neighborhood's dynamics shifted, with residents forming committees to handle issues democratically rather than letting a few people dictate terms. Max became a symbol of resistance and joy, a reminder that rules are made to serve people, not control them. Yet the story wasn't without its moments of hilarity and drama. There were reports of the board trying to sneak into his yard to measure him for compliance, neighbors hiding toys to see his reaction, and a bizarre incident involving a remote-controlled car that led to a full-scale chase around the cul-de-sac. Every event, however minor, became part of the lore that made Max a legend. By the time the first year of his presidency ended, it was clear that the dog had rewritten what it meant to be part of an HOA. Authority, respect, and influence no longer rested solely with humans. It could belong to anyone, or anything, who had charisma, wit, and a loyal following. And in Max's case, that was more than enough to reshape an entire community. The story of how a dog became HOA president spread beyond our neighborhood, making its way onto local news, social media, and eventually national headlines. People couldn't believe it. A Labrador mix who had been threatened with eviction now held the reins of suburban governance. Max didn't respond to fame, of course, but his presence alone was a statement. His rule proved that bureaucracy, when challenged creatively, could be overturned. And that community spirit often triumphs over rigid conformity. If you enjoyed seeing Max's epic journey from underdog to HOA president, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable stories just like this. Trust me, you won't want to miss the next wild twist in HOA chaos, canine adventures, and neighborhood drama, because stories this good only get better from here.